Howdy folks, on today's episode of Monday Maps, I'm going to be creating this map of the Cuban Missile Crisis. We're essentially going to be showing the range of the various ballistic missiles at that time. So I found this declassified map. It's really cool. I really like the look. And as always, I wanted to see if I could kind of match this particular style inside of Adobe After Effects using GEOlayers 3. I'm also going to be using felt to put together some of these elements. And again, as always, if you would like to follow along with this tutorial, I'll throw all the project files over on my Patreon page. And if you want to become a master of GeoLayers 3, check out my GeoLayers 3 masterclass. So for the first step, I want to create these little elements here, these ellipses that are showing the distances of the various missile types. So to do that, I'm going to head over to felt.com. This is actually a place that I work for full time. I love this company. They're amazing. If you don't already have a Felt account, I urge you to pause this video right now, go set up an account. You'll be able to follow along here. So what I'm going to do is first type in this city. So I can search that here on Felt using the search tool. I'm going to type it in right here. I can click on it. It'll not only zoom me straight into this location, but it adds a pin. So if I go to the list menu here, or the list layout view, I can see I have a new pin element with this label. So now I'm going to right click on this and go to export, and I'll just export this as a GeoJSON. Now I want to recreate these little ellipses showing the various distances. And if I zoom in, you can see these are actually in nautical miles. So I'm going to go back to Felt, and the way that I'm going to do this is click right here under the Shapes drop-down menu and select Circle. And then I'm going to go back in on the city, and I'm going to click directly on the pin once, and then as I drag it out, it's going to start to draw an ellipse. And as I click again, it will set it in place. And if you look over here with this selected, you'll see we have the new circle here. But over here, it shows us the radius. And if you don't see it in Imperial, you can actually go over here to the drop-down menu and do View. And then all the way at the bottom in Units, you can switch it to see Imperial. I also want to turn on Show Radius. That's going to show me the radius right here. So what we want to do is first we want to match it to these different shapes. So we have 630 nautical miles. So a nautical mile is not actually the same as a mile. So if you want to Google a little converter here, you can do 630 is actually 725. So we'll go back here and just type in 725. And now if I double click on this circle, it's going to show us. And we can kind of like estimate, just look, eyeball it to see if it's about the same. So we're past New Orleans, like kind of midway through Georgia here. So if I go back to my reference image, that's indeed what this is. Okay, so that's looking good. Now let's go ahead and create these other two. Well, actually, I'll rename this one. And now Felt has this weird thing. I actually think it's a bug. If you copy paste, so if I do Control or Command C and then paste, it kind of offsets a little bit. So if you undo and you actually hold Control Shift paste, it won't paste it. But then when you paste it again, it pastes it directly over top and centered. I'm going to need to actually report that bug to my homies because I think that's a proper bug. Okay, so now we want to do the other distance here, which was 1020, 1020. Pop that into our converter. So I'm just going to go ahead and speed through this. Okay, so I have all of my shapes here. You'll notice that this big one's looking a little stretched out. This is due to the fact that Felt uses a web Mercator projection, and GeoLayers 3 does as well. Our reference image is not using a Mercator projection, so just be aware of that. Now I can grab these three, right click, and export these as GeoJSONs as well. There we go. Now I'm going to jump back over to Adobe After Effects, and to bring these in, you open up the GeoLayers panel and do import file right here in this plus icon, and then you can just go in and manually grab these, bring them in, and they're going to show up as feature collections. It's asking me right now if I want to merge the properties of what I'm importing, and I don't want to. I just want to import these as individual files. So now you can see I have different feature collections here. One has all of the ellipses and the other has my little city here. So now you can see, here we go. And here is our city. So this is looking great. Okay, we're ready to rock and roll now. I'm going to create a Mapcomp. Click on Create Mapcomp. And I actually want this one to be square because you can see our reference image is looking a little squarish. So I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. Change the size of our Mapcomp. Now I'm just going to go ahead and select any random Mapcomp imagery. However, I'm going to be doing everything kind of from scratch for my base map. So I'm going to be creating or drawing my own shape layer elements and customizing the design that way and like overlaying some textures. So I will not be relying on any of the base map imagery. And I would like to actually start doing this more and more and showing you how to do this in the tutorial, because I feel like a lot of people get caught up on feeling like they can only use the base maps that are provided, which most of which are hidden behind a paywall, the map tiler paywall. So I'm just going to show you some tips and tricks here. So to create our own base map here, we're going to have to draw out a lot of vector shapes. And this is one of the primary problems that people encounter when creating their own base maps, is the fact that as you draw these countries out, they require a lot of vertices, which will slow down your system. So if you're trying to draw out the entire world via these Polygon vector layers, it's going to slow everything down. So if we look at our reference image here, you can see that this is kind of like the wide. So the animation that I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom out from a like close-up of Cuba, and I'm going to zoom to this wide area. So what I want to do is make sure that I don't draw out any elements that I'm not going to be using or that are not going to be shown on screen. So any countries that I draw out, I only want to draw out what's in my view here. So it's like most of North America, a little bit of South America here. So how do we do this? Well, first we got to download the actual countries. So click on this plus icon, go to download features, and then click on the countries natural earth global dataset. And that's indeed going to download a feature collection of every country polygon in the world. So now how do we filter this down? So there's two key ways that you can filter these. So one of which is I can just filter by view. So there's a little button right here called filter view. If you activate this, now with this selected, as you zoom in, it will essentially only show you what is in your view. So if I zoom all the way into Cuba, you'll notice that there's not that many countries here. We have the Bahamas, Haiti, Cuba. So this is really helpful. However, I don't think it's the perfect way, because as you zoom out, it gives me a little bit of France, a little bit of other of these empires that have colonies around. So we just want to focus on like the landmass of the regional landmass. So a really smart way to go about this is to filter by different data fields. So if I just grab an individual country here, well, first of all, let me turn off filter view. If I grab like Indonesia and select feature properties, you're going to see that, I'll full screen this, you can see that I've got all these different data fields. So I can filter and search by any of these keys or values. So on the left, you have the keys, on the right, you have the values. So if you scroll down, you'll see that they have a handful of regional information. So right here, they have the continent, they have a region _UN, which actually Indonesia is kind of a bad example. So if I go down, let me use Peru. So if I click on Peru and go here, you can see for continent, we have South America. For region, we have Americas. So Americas is actually one that would be very helpful, because we want to see both North and South America. So this will probably be the best. And once we draw this out, what we'll do is I'll draw out North and South America, and then I can go in and delete individual countries if I want. I found that this is probably one of the fastest ways to do this. So to actually filter by one of these keys, you have to like type it in and then do equals value. So if you click on it, it'll actually copy this to the clipboard. So I clicked on region _UN, and now I'll just click on cancel. And right here you have this filter. So I'm going to paste that back in. So you take the key, you hit equals, and then you type in the value, which for us was Americas. Now this is case sensitive. If you miss anything, it won't work. So you have to be very specific. I think even if you put a space in here, will it still work? It will work. Okay, so it's done that. Now if I click on our feature collection, and if I zoom out, you can see, yes, indeed, it has grabbed the Americas, which is very cool. But notice, it did not grab France, I guess. So this can be a problem. You know what? Let's just go with it. I'm not for accuracy right now. So but just be aware that this is a problem you can encounter. Now I need to, basically as I draw it out, I need to focus on two other things. Like we need to focus on our layer style, like what colors do we want it to be? Do we want it to have a stroke? Do we want it to have a fill? And also we have a little bit of control of how it draws out the vertices. So we do this up here. And if we go back and we look at our, basically look at our reference, the colors aren't too difficult. It's like basically like a highlight, dark, and midtone. So we're gonna pick this color right here as our fill, and we wanna have a black stroke. So I'm gonna do a new style, and we can just call this land. And for the fill, we'll just do some kind of like midtone or darker gray here. Click apply, and then I'll add a stroke with like a pixel width of 2 and a color of a darker black. Okay, so I've got the colors. Now what I want to do is specify the geometry. So here you have your geometry. This is where you have 3 different settings. You can have it not simplify any geometry, but that is where it's going to draw out as many vertices as possible. It's going to give you an insane amount of detail, but it's going to be very intensive on your system, and your system might even lock up. So what you want to do is you want to set that to current zoom. And plus, I'm like trying to recreate an old map here, so I'm not actually going for like super detail. It's fine if the edges are going to be a little rough. So what I'm going to do actually is zoom all the way out. I'm going to zoom out as far as I can, and then I'm going to grab my countries. I still have my filter selected. In one other setting, I want to make sure that it draws it out as one layer. So I have individual layers deselected, and I will go ahead and draw this out now. So we'll draw features. Actually, one little quirky thing that you need to be aware of is that when you have a filter applied, you need to make sure that you grab all the individual features, because if you just have the feature collection selected, it will ignore the filter when you draw them out. So I'm going to go ahead and draw this out now. And again, just double check that we are draw features. And you'll notice we got no warning about too many vertices here. If you've used GeoLayers long enough and you've created enough, you've drawn out enough shapes, occasionally you get a warning saying, hey, there's a lot of features or a lot of vertices that you're going to draw out here. Are you sure you want to do it? And you have to tell it yes. So we didn't even get that warning, which is a good sign, especially when you're drawing out like 2 continents. All right, we have our new shape layer here. So we have just one shape layer, and unfortunately it names it by like every map feature, which is kind of annoying. So we're going to rename it. But if you open up contents, now you'll see that we have all of the different countries here. Now, one thing I suggest, I'm actually going to do this over. So I'm going to delete this. And if you go back here and you select your feature collection and you go to feature properties and just sort these by name so that when you draw them out, they're going to be alphabetized, which is very important, be easier to find. So sort features by name, click apply, okay, and then deselect and reselect so that the filter is applied once again. And now, again, I will select all of these and I will draw them out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rename this. We'll just call it land. And then to make it run a little bit faster, I'm actually going to jump in here and just get rid of Greenland. So I can open this up. This is why I alphabetize them. So I can just come in here, and you can either delete or just toggle them off. So we don't want Greenland. That's going to hopefully speed things up quite a bit. You could even like turn off, since we'll be zoomed in, you could turn off Chile and what are the other ones? Argentina. You know, just come in here and turn off whatever you want. Now we actually still have our Mapcomp imagery up. So if you go to the Mapcomp settings, you can just turn this off. So now we just have, we'll just have the shape layers. So for the ocean, I can just automatically add a new solid and have it at the bottom of the stack. So we'll call this, we'll just call it water. And for the water, we want like a, just kind of a lighter color, something like that. And now we want to do the United States and Cuba. So I'll duplicate our land layer. And then I can come in here and basically grab all of the shape groups except for Cuba and the United States. So I'll go grab these, just delete them all. So here we only have the US and Cuba. I'm going to grab a new layer style here. So we'll do edit styles, and we want to duplicate this. And for this one, we want to have a white fill with black stroke. So we'll apply this, black stroke, perfectly fine. And now we will basically swap this shape layer style out with this layer selected. So it's just gonna swap out the fill, and the stroke color is not gonna change any of the geometry. We'll actually rename that just to keep it organized. So USA and Cuba. And then back in our land layer, I can open this up, and now I can come in this one and just turn off Cuba and the United States for this one, because we don't want that underlying colors here, and it's just more geometry to worry about. And now since we changed the zoom level, we want to redraw out the layer style for the land. So we'll go back here and grab this again, because we don't have auto stroke width, so the strokes are going to be a little bit different. So we'll go ahead and swap this layer style out for this zoom level, and then we should be cooking. Now I want to label some cities. So for this, I'm going to click on the plus icon again, select download features. And if you scroll all the way to the bottom, you have a section for places, where it's essentially going to pull like cities from OpenStreetMap based on your current view. So if you click on this, it might take a little while because I have the entire United States and all of Mexico on here. So once this loads up, what I'm going to do is open up the feature properties again. So let's just look at one here. Go to feature properties. If I go to the top, you'll notice that we once again have all these key and value fields. So I can search these by one of these, and you'll notice we have world city. So I just want to take some of the most populated big cities. So I'm going to use this, which is world city. Now to see the actual whole range of the fields or the values, you can click on feature properties for the feature collection, and then it'll just show you the range here, the minimum maximum. So world city goes from 0 to 1. So all we need to do for this is, with places selected, do world city equals 1. And now that will give us, if I select again, it's going to narrow down just by these world cities now. So I can grab all of these except for Mexico City. And actually, I don't want this one either. I only want cities in the US, so no Toronto. And I want to add some labels. Now, quick power tip about labels. If you want to have some really good looking labels, what you can do is jump into your Mapcomp settings, click on Mapcomp labels, and then click edit labels. And then at the very top right here, it says create template labels. This is like a kind of like a hidden feature, hidden hack, to where we're creating our own label templates based on these themes here, which are very cool. Now, if I want to draw these cities out, I still have them selected. I'm going to go to my label template dropdown, and here are our defaults. If you scroll down, now we have all of these additional ones, which are so cool. So I'm going to choose cities, and then I'll go ahead and click on label features, add labels. Very cool. So I'm almost there. Now all I really need to do is add the elements that I created in Felt, and then add some textures, and then do a little bit of an animation. So I'm going to grab a new layer style, or I'm going to create a new layer style, and I'll just create like this red color, something like that. So we're just going to do one that is actually no, we only want stroke. So we're going to turn off fill, and for stroke, we'll set this down to like 4 pixels. I think that's pretty good. Close this out, and now we're going to go find our features that we brought in, which are right here. So let's go ahead and grab all of these and draw them out, but we want to draw them out as individual layers. So we're going to turn on individual layers. There we go. And now I want to have a little point for the city in Cuba, and I want that to be red as well. So for that, you just have to select a stroke element, and with point data, when you draw this out, it's going to indeed draw it as a little point right here. And we'll see if 4 pixels is enough, which no, it is not. So I'll grab this again, and all you have to do is go in here and do edit styles, and then you can bump this stroke up to like maybe 25, and you can immediately swap it even without applying the changes to your layer style template. There we go. All right, we're getting closer, almost there. This is a very long tutorial. Now I'm gonna go grab some of these textures that I got from Envato Elements. I'll just grab like 2 of them maybe and bring them in here, and then I'm just going to drop them directly over my map. My map is already at its widest view here, so all I need to do is, with this paper texture, make sure that it's scaled appropriately. I want to use all the resolution, so I'm going to right click on it, do transform, fit to comp height, and that's going to like scale it down as much as possible to give us the most resolution here. And now I will parent this to my Mapcomp anchor so that it moves with the map animation. I'm going to toggle these switches and make sure that it is set to 3D. Now to blend it, I'll change the blend mode to multiply. And actually, I'm going to go to Window and go to Effects and Presets. You can see how slow my system is going now. It's going pretty slow. I'm just going to add a tint effect and drop this on here. And that will like set it to, you know, black and white and take all this color out. I can also grab the opacity here and bring the opacity down so that our texture is not, you know, so overbearing. This is the part of the tutorial where you're really going to need to like iterate and tweak and repeat. I think this land color is just a little bit too strong. So what I'm going to do with that is let's grab land and go back to the GeoLayers panel and go to the layer style and just edit this layer style and bring the fill. Maybe it's just a little too dark, so maybe we can bring the fill up, up. Something like that. And now we can swap this out. All right, after a whole lot of work, I'm now ready to animate this map and bring some life to it. So let's say I want to start in close up on Cuba, on the city here. I want to have this icon map marker do a little flickering opacity animation in, and then we'll start to fly out, do like a zoom or a scale out on the map to full view here. And as we do that, I want these ellipses to grow from the center of the map marker. So let's focus on these individual elements one at a time. And I like to isolate the layers so that you know, we're not bogging down our system too much. And you can go to preview and set your skip and resolution back to full, because if you're isolating these elements, it's not going to bog down your system too much. Now I'm going to go to effects and presets, and I'm going to type in the word flickering opacity, and I have these transitions right here, at layer in, at layer out. So I'm going to go ahead and add at layer in to this. And now if I play this back, you can see we get this little, it's pretty hard to see actually. If I can zoom in here, you can see now that like ding ding, there's a little flickering opacity in, which is cool. My comp is actually set to quarter resolution. That's why it's looking so janky. Here we go. Okay, cool. So that'll be our starting little like trigger animation there, which will go to about 1 second. So let's say at 1 second, then we'll have these three elements scale up. So we have a little bit of a problem with this, and that's the fact that if I grab one of these, you'll notice that the anchor point right here, well, there's two kind of problems. The fact that it's 3D and the fact that the anchor point is in the top left of the layer. And it's the same with all of these. So what can we do about this? Well, the reason why this is a problem is if we scale it, if I do a scale animation, it's going to scale from the anchor point and it won't scale from this. So I need to reposition the anchor point and line it up to our city icon marker. And remember, since we're using Web Mercator, you can't just like center this in the layer because it'll be offset. You need to actually bring it right here. So I want to use like snapping. I want to be able to grab this anchor point and snap it right to here. So a kind of best practices thing is to turn off 3D for these layers. You want to turn off 3D, make sure you don't move your map at all, and then grab one of these, and you're going to grab this tool right here, which is called the pan behind tool, aka the anchor point tool. So now I'll be able to grab this and move it around, and if I hold control, it'll enable snapping, and that will allow me to snap it directly there. So if I zoom in, you're going to be able to see, indeed, my anchor point is at the middle here. So to quickly do the other two, all I need to do is look at the anchor point and the position. So I'm looking at both the anchor point and the position of this, because when you use the pan behind tool, you're moving both of these. So go ahead and undo that. So all I need to do is grab both of these and copy the parameters, and then go down to these two and paste. And now if I select both of these, you'll notice that indeed the anchor points of these are in the middle. Now it's very important that I go back and I enable 3D again. There we go. So now these are ready to rock and roll. I don't think that's going to cause any problems. If there's a better way to do that, let me know, because toggling 3D off and back on, I don't think it introduces any problems. But if it does, holla at your boy. So now what I can do is I can start my scale animation right here. So we grab these three, maybe change the label color here to a red or a pink. There we go. Now I'll hit S for scale. I'm going to add scale keyframes, and let's say we want these to go for like 3 seconds. So I'll bring it out here, and then I will just start at 0 for all of these. So now we have, if we play this back, we have the flickering, and then these are going to scale up like this. Now we want them to scale up like a lot faster. So I'm going to grab them all, right click, keyframe assistance, easy ease. And now I will just go to the speed graph here and, crank it up like this. And now that just introduces some fast action like this. It's going to shoot out like that. And now I'll just quickly offset it. So let's say we want to add, make it a little bit more dynamic, and even grab this last keyframe and have the last one come on, quite a bit later than these others. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, cool. And I can make fine-tune adjustments to these a little bit later. So I'll close this off. Now I'm ready to animate my Mapcomp view. And to do that, I can just bring up one of these layers here. I'll bring up USA and Cuba. And at this point, it's probably good practice to go to your preview and bring it down so that it will play back a little bit faster. So for this, let's say we want our map to zoom out around the same time when these ellipses are starting to animate on. So I can go back to my GeoLayers panel and let's add keyframes here. And I'll grab them all and bring them out to like let's bring them way out like here. And that'll be our endpoint. And now we can go and zoom in for the beginning of our animation, which will be something like this. And I also want to do a pitch and a bearing change here like this. I want it to be pitched out like this, and that's good. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy bearing and pitch, and then I'm going to come back over here and I'm just going to paste it, and that should override that. And now with the playhead over these keyframes, I can just kind of like maneuver this so that it's more over the top here, like right over this, which is looking good. Okay, so now I have, I forgot easy ease. We got to do our easy ease, our speed graph change here. And I just once again want to shout out all you speed graph hating value graph lovers. You guys are a bunch of stupid hipsters. And now it's just a matter of tweaking, and we're probably going to introduce another problem. So this is essentially the animation. Now it's just a matter of like double checking everything. Like I'm sure this texture is going to be giving us some problems. So if we go over here to the end, I'm sure this texture, we're seeing the edges of it. Yeah, we are. So now we gotta like figure out what we can do with this, which maybe we can do something like a reptile or a motion tile. I could come to effects and presets and maybe add a motion tile, and hopefully this won't like destroy the system here. I could naturally maybe do a, just scale it up a little bit, or bring my animation camera view in a little bit closer. Just gotta figure out what you want to do here. So maybe I'll do both. I'll grab the end keyframes here and just zoom in a little bit so we don't have to bring this texture up too much. Something like this. And you know what? I might be able to get away with just like repositioning this texture, like rotating it. Yeah, I think I might just do this. And now I'll take the rotation here, and we want to go, oh geez, what do we want to do here? We want Y or X or Z? We want Z, 90% rotation. Let's see if that works. There we go. And now we just toggle on mirror edges, and we bring the output width and height out ever so slightly. I can probably bring it out less than that, but that's looking good. Actually, I can still see the corner right here, so maybe just zoom in ever so slightly. All right, now I'm going to save my project, turn all these layers back on, and export it out. Okay, so I have a rough animation here, and it is definitely looking rough. There are many things I want to change about this, so I'm just going to go through and change things. Like, for example, I'm going to change the size of this map marker. Maybe I won't be so close up at the beginning of the animation. I'm going to maybe tweak the texture. I obviously need to tweak the timing of the animation of the zoom, as well as the scaling of the ellipses, and just a bunch of different things. This is kind of the process. So I'm going to go tweak that, and I'll show you a more refined version, which will be at the intro. So you've already seen it at this point. So this is a very long tutorial, I know, which makes me want to find out, this takes a lot of time, and really what takes the most amount of time is the fact that I'm editing out a lot of stuff. Like I'm editing out specific things. So I'm kind of, I think I'm really thinking about experimenting with just like recording me putting together something and just warts and all, like putting it all out totally unedited, like completely unedited. And I'm curious if there's people out there that might want to see that. I'm assuming if you're still listening and watching right now after this long of a tutorial, you're probably in the camp that would like to see that. So I'm actually gonna think I'm gonna share a survey on Twitter and my Patreon page to find out. But let me know what you think, because there's different styles of tutorials. Like you can do like the very short, hyper produced, like here it is, here's like just get straight to it. Don't have my stupid face on camera, just me talking, bang. And then there are these which are very like long, and I'll leave in like, I think one of the areas that provides a lot of value is when I make mistakes or like I come across some kind of obstacle that I'm trying to figure out, and you can watch me troubleshoot it in real time. I think that that would probably be the most valuable type of content. So that's kind of a good idea for a series. Just like don't even pre-produce, like pre-produce nothing. Just take a map, try to recreate it. Ooh, I like this. This is a very good idea. Anyways, yeah, I found myself a lot of times on this channel apologizing for rambling, but I'm going to start to embrace this format a bit more. Yeah, if you see some long form tutorials on this channel, get ready. Bring some popcorn. Be ready to see some mistakes and to see some crap that hopefully we can revise and make look good. See you next time.